and welcome everyone. It looks like I dropped out on that last line. Just making sure that I can find my microphone here. So hopefully you can receive me okay, and I'm just going to give it a few seconds or a couple of minutes here as people jump in and join in on the session, and I'm going to get started as soon as people jump on. So if you can hear me, if you can see me, give me a little kind of thumbs up or a love heart, and I'm just going to give people a few more minutes to jump online onto the session, and we'll be on our way talking about this week's topic, which is embodying your transformation, and living your transformation, experiencing it in your body, and living it in your in your life, or putting it into practice in your life. So give it another couple of minutes as people jump in and join online before we continue on. So just as you guys are logging in, I can see a few people that are already on. So if you are on there, give me a little thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Hello, Roberto. How are you? Great to have you with us. Anyone else, jump in, say hello. Tell me where you're coming from. Tell me where you're logging in from. If you're in Italy or different parts of Italy, and what are your interests? What are your kind of what are you guys up to? Just check in with me for a couple minutes and started on today's topic, or at least my today's topic, which I haven't spoke for a couple of weeks now, at least, on Bridges of Light. And while I'm waiting for everyone to jump online, thank you to each of you that are tuning in, that are watching, that are listening. Let me know if you find these topics useful to you. If you have any questions, any comments, questions about like previous sessions before on this, let me know. Where are you guys logging in from? What are your interests? What do you do? What are you guys up to? Just before we jump into our topic of discussion or session today. So thank you, Roberto, for the little, it's not even thumbs up, but it's like, yep, it's working. Thank you for that. Where are you tuning in from? Where are you guys tuning in from? I can see more and more people joining in. That's awesome. Welcome, those of you coming online. Great to have you here. I am here in Nottingham in the Midlands of the UK, delivering a yoga program. I've just finished 3 days, and tomorrow we have a little break, but I'm teaching some other workshops. And then from Friday to Sunday, I'm teaching another 3-day program called the Foundations of Teacher Training Program. So if you're ever interested in yoga teacher training, the 3 days, just kind of a stepping stone into, considering a full teacher training program. Anyway, that's just kind of what I'm doing here. Last week, myself and my partner Maud, we were in Scandinavia, Stockholm, Scandinavia, and we were also teaching yoga, meditation. So, what are you guys up to? What's your interest? Obviously, there's a lot of you here who are energy workers. You're into energy and different modalities of energy work. So let me know where you're tuning in from, and if you can receive me okay, and just what you guys are up to, just to check in before we jump in any further into today's topic of embodying the transformation, embodying your transformation. So I think people are kind of coming on and off, and hopefully my connection here is good enough so that you're receiving me okay. Of course, as the universe would have it, things always just come together. I'm here in this Airbnb, and it didn't look like the internet was working, and I was a little bit concerned because I was supposed to be online with you guys at 7 o'clock. But things always work, things always fall in place. And it's just a matter of actually just trusting and letting go. And this is one of the things that, I've been experiencing, certainly, over the last few weeks, certainly in the last few days. And when, like yesterday, it was yesterday or today that I woke up and, the mind just feels chaotic. first thing in the morning before you start the day. And I found that as I was going into my morning, even getting into the meditation, there's sometimes the mind plays all sorts of tricks and says, okay, you need to do this and that first before the meditation, when actually maybe we don't. And the most important thing is to get into the meditation and connect, to whatever you want to call it, higher power, source, universe, love, light. And for me, that's where I tend to create my day, in my cooperation, in my partnership with higher power. So, then everything falls in place. Then I step into my day. And even then, my mind was kind of still, really rushing around and worried about the day ahead. And just giving me lots of things to kind of be concerned about, to be worried about. And as much as, this stuff, applying it is a whole other thing, which is, applying it, embodying it, to live it. And part of embodying it was, for me, I was driving from here to where I'm teaching the course, and I could feel the kind of physical sensations in my body, of what I thought was kind of fear, right? And there's things that my mind was saying, like, oh, there's this and this and this and this you need to get done, and this is going to be due, and this is already overdue, and you should be really concerned about this, you should be worried about that, and you should take care of all this stuff. And what the mind does normally is that it always looks for the worst case scenario. So let's say, I'm here in this room, and let's say if something was, metaphorically speaking, like coming to attack me, or like that same part of the brain that gets fired up when we were back in the day in caves, kind of gets activated again, and the fight or flight part of our brain and our nervous system gets activated. So, if there is a kind of threat, then the mind just goes first to the worst case scenario, and starts to be really worried. What could be the worst thing? Because the reason it does that is because, if you can deal with the worst scenario, then everything else is fine. Everything else is, you can take care of it. It's going to be okay. But if you can't deal with the worst case scenario, then you might be in trouble. So you should be in fight or flight or fight. So yesterday morning, as I was driving to where I'm teaching the course, I could just feel my mind kind of kicking in and just be really worried and concerned. And my practice was actually just to surrender, to give this concern and my worry. So now one of the things, the last few days that I've been doing in my head was, anytime my mind comes up with something to be concerned with, I just take that. Firstly, I allow myself to feel it in my body, so whatever the feeling, if it's fear, then maybe I'm feeling in my belly or my chest or whatever, allowing myself to really feel it and to really delve into, like, what is this? What's underneath this feeling? And then, choosing to actually surrender that, to trust completely and to surrender that to something greater than just my limited mind and, and also this physical body, because who I am is something, bigger and larger than this, as is for you and for anyone. So, sometimes the mind likes to feel and believe that, there is a something that, you just irretractable issue, something that can happen, that it could completely destroy you. But, it isn't that case. That isn't the case. So just kind of zooming out of what the mind kind of throws at us and looking at the bigger picture, and getting that, or going back to the beliefs, like the core beliefs of, I am okay, I am guided, everything is going to be always okay. And from that place, anything and everything is possible. And also, whenever my mind comes up with something to be worried and concerned about, as I was saying at the beginning of this session, then my practice has been to, like, feel it in my body and then take it and surrender it to a higher power and just say, you take care of this, you organize this for me. you sort this out for me. And I've been doing that in really in all areas of my life, whether it's like when I go to teach, when I'm facilitating something or a process, when I'm doing healing, when I'm running my business, to really have that higher energy be my CEO, my board of directors, my confidants, my business partners. That is all of that for me, and guiding me through it. So embodying it is also, feeling the fear and then surrendering it, and then coming back to the body and connecting with it to really feel the shifts of that, the shifts of what trust feels like. And I found that as I go through that journey, the things that would scare me before, the more I'm able to actually allow those things to come up and allow myself to experience those things that used to scare me, and take that worry, take the doubt, and surrender it to a higher power. What happens is it magically just sorts itself out, and then it's kind of staying open so that if I need to do something about it, then I can do something about it. I can sort it out somehow. And it's actually not just me sorting it out, but actually as I give it to a higher power, something greater than me, something greater than my mind, is actually, sorting it out for me. So, once that's, handed over to a higher power, it's then coming back to the breath and the body and checking in with the body, and what trust feels like, the easefulness, and maybe there's still like a mix of nervousness and easefulness when you're surrendering it to something greater, and when you're letting it go, and feeling that easefulness, and then coming back to a state of like being centered, being relaxed, but yet open to being guided. So then, as I'm open to being guided through the day, I would find that there's kind of little bits of inspiration where it's not about hustling and grinding and pushing and fighting, but it's about inspired action. So as in the action that is taken, it's not less, it's not uncommitted, but actually, as a matter of fact, it's guided action. So, there is a higher power, or the highest power, that is actually my consulting, force field. And I consult with it so that it will tell me when I need to actually, take the next step, or take action, or make a phone call, or send an email, or just take some kind of an action to make something happen. And then after that, it's going back into being in that state of relaxed and connected, open, joy, like joyfulness, and allowing myself more and more to spend more of my day, in that kind of a vibration. So on the level of the body, and embodying the transformation is about constantly tracking. So the body is like an antenna, and constantly tracking like a frequency, what's actually going on within me and what I'm receiving back, from this higher power, from source, from universe, if you want to call it that. So, it's not just that on an energetic level, but actually, the body then becomes like an antenna, like an energetic antenna. Hi, Adela. Hi, Roberto. Great to have you guys here. I can see there's more people online, but I'm not really hearing from you, but I'd love to hear from you. So give me kind of like that, or, love hearts. I'd love to hear from you guys. Tell me where you're logging in from. It's great to have you guys online. So, those of you just joined in, I'm talking about embodying your transformation, as in, living your transformation on the level of the body, and the different stages going from awareness, of a situation, leading to, I guess you could say, like freedom or liberation, or even success, or however that success is defined in that situation. So, what is it that is challenging for you? What is it that's coming up for you? And I'm always looking at Like, for example, these days, like the last few days, I've actually been really busy. I'm here in Nottingham teaching a yoga program, and my mind has been racing because I've been really busy for many hours. In the day, I'm teaching my groups, and then I finish that, and I'm on calls and things like that. And it just feels like I'm not really getting anywhere with my task list. It's just the task list goes crazy, and there's part of me that just feels like I'm not getting anywhere with this. So I was just sharing earlier in the call, for those of you just joined in, about when I sit in my meditation, and how, yesterday I think I was feeling this. The mind was just so busy and really trying to take me out. Before I even went into the meditation, it was like, why do you need to meditate? Get these things done. And then, I kind of stopped that and went into the meditation, interrupted that and went into the meditation. And the meditation gave me a sense of, obviously, a deep connection with the higher power. And then allowing myself to be guided. But, even after I came out of the meditation, I was kind of rushing around, and I feel myself rushing around. So as I go through the day, any times that I hit block, I'm looking at, okay, so feeling it in the body, tracking it in the body, and then going underneath, what it is, the thing that is coming up. So if it's like, oh, I don't have enough time, or, how am I going to get all these things done, or I'm not making any progress, getting underneath it, and then actually taking that and surrendering it to a higher power than myself or my mind or my heart or this body, something much greater than me, whatever you want to call it, source, love, universe, life, life, love, God, whatever, quantum field, whatever word works for you. As you surrender it to this high power, it kind of takes the responsibility, not just a responsibility, but like it takes the pressure off, so that, it is just given to something greater than us to take care of. Hi, Ina, welcome. Great to have you guys here. I'm really glad that the Facebook Live is working today, because I was a little concerned. I'm here in Nottingham teaching some yoga programs, and this beautiful Airbnb that I'm here staying at, the internet wasn't working, and it's kind of far away because I'm in the middle of nature here, and I was a little bit concerned whether I was going to be able to make this Facebook Live with you guys. But as the universe has it, so I'm talking about surrendering. That was one of the things that I actually surrendered through my day. There's been so much going on back to back. At some point in my head, I was just like, okay, I'm going to surrender this to you, universe. You take care of it. You sort it out. And when I got a minute, I messaged the person here. She turned up. She's unlocked, this part of the building where the router is. And I've been able to jump online. So I'm really glad to see you guys logging on, because that means this is hopefully working. I can see people coming and going, that this live session is actually happening. And how beautiful, because as I'm talking about embodying transformation and surrendering, to a higher power, but then also and part of embodying the transformation is about using your body like an antenna, and to track progress in your transformation. So body is just one of the many different levels, and embodying transformation is about tracking, in my opinion, tracking what's going on in your body, as you go through any kind of situations that we run into, before, during, and after. And at the beginning, the awareness normally comes after something has happened. Then we go, oh, that's happened. How did that happen? Especially if it was something that was not so nice. And then we start to track it back. So using the body to feel, like I was sharing the example yesterday morning, as I woke up, I was starting to feel kind of really nervous, which is not like me. I'm generally fairly, calm, relaxed, and grounded and centered. So, what do you do? What do you do when you hit those moments where it's like, stress or tension, and the thing that you are in stress and tension about? So what I was sharing, those of you just logged on, welcome. Those of you just logged on. So what I was sharing was, tracking it, when something happens, or you find, like I find myself sometimes in like a place of tension, or stress, or maybe like high stress. Firstly, like tracking it in the body, and then the emotional components of it. So if it's like worry or concern, or my head might say like, oh, I'm freaking out. And it might be happening maybe in my belly, in my chest, my shoulders, my neck, my throat, or something like that. So tracking it on the level of the body, and then going in internally, taking, this is what I've been practicing. I'm just sharing with you guys what I've been practicing. Taking the problem that maybe showed up at that time, and surrendering it. So that means going into like full trust, and surrendering it to a higher power, so that the higher power can actually take that and reorganize that, and resolve it for me. So this is a formula that I've been working with for some time, but certainly been, I've been challenged in the last few days with the amount of time and kind of like stress levels, because I don't really get stressed very often. I have believed that I don't really do stress. It can't, interesting thing for me when I observe it. So observing it first on the level of the body, taking the issue, surrendering it to a higher power, and allowing the higher power to reorganize it and resolve it for me. And then, being open like an antenna, the body like an antenna, to receive the message, from source, from the universe, from the higher power, for when I need to take action on this physical plane, this physical level, so that as I take, action, it is actually guided action. And when it's guided action, it's not just through the limitation and the filters of the mind, which obviously is limited in its capacity of intelligence, but that, sure, I am using, of course, my mind, but at the same time, I'm also open and trusting enough to surrender the problem to a higher power, and for the higher power to actually take that and resolve it, and to reorganize it, rearrange it, to bring it back and give it back to me when it is resolved. So if there's actions for me to take in the middle, the way I would know is to tune in, to feel mostly in my body, and to know, to then take the next kind of guided action and step, to trust enough that I am actually getting those messages, and that is a practice. And I'm still practicing it, and I can't say I've mastered it, but I'm just sharing it with you guys because this is kind of very current for me the last few days. I haven't even processed it enough to, I don't know, maybe be very, very eloquent with it, but hopefully it is making sense to you guys. So yeah, the topic, I just call it embodying your transformation. But this is the kind of the cycles that I've noticed with myself for the last few days. Just because my schedule's been a bit crazy, I've literally just been like back to back to back, with meetings and calls and course. Like I'm delivering course here in Nottingham, so there's this kind of background thought and sense of like I'm not really getting anywhere. So in case you had that, maybe you can relate to this, feeling of like I'm not getting anywhere, and as a result there's kind of tension and stress that kind of builds up internally. And if you leave that to build, it would continue to build. So for me, when I notice it, one of the easiest and most powerful ways I found is to notice it on the level of the body, why I've called it embodying a transformation. Because stress may show up in a certain way, and like the mind kind of calls it stress, and it gives this label called stress. And the way you track it is this: the mind might say, oh, I'm feeling stress, but actually to take that label, that the mind said, okay, I'm feeling stress, and break it down into physical sensations in the body. So the physical sensations in the body may manifest in the form of something going on in my belly, maybe something going on around the chest, like tightness around the chest, maybe something around the shoulders or the neck, or maybe it's like a headachy feeling, or just a kind of a stress, type tension, stress type feeling. So tracking that, so that becomes my first kind of point of awareness, you could say, where it's come to my awareness. And as it comes to awareness, then you can do something about it. And lately I've been practicing rather than me trying to sort it out with the limitations of the mind, allowing my mind to reorganize it for me, so that not just my mind to reorganize it for me, excuse me, my mind to reorganize it, certainly, to think about the problem and to actually break it down, but then to take that and to give it to a power that is greater than me, a higher power, whatever, word you want to call that, and trusting within myself that it is going to be taken care of, even if my mind is freaking out about it, to take that and really just hand it over to something greater than me, so that higher power can actually resolve it and solve it for me. And then being, coming back to my heart and back into my body, and opening, so that my body is like an antenna, that it can pick up those frequencies, and it knows that, when it is resolved, so, or also receiving the guidance of taking guided action, which is very different to coming from a very cerebral, logical place where the mind is trying to work out, here's what I need to do, right? So rather than feeling like, okay, this is me solving this, resolving it, I've noticed whenever I do that, it's actually, my practice has been to pull back and go, okay, great. So this is what my mind thinks. Let me hand this over to higher power, and let the higher power actually take it and reorganize it and rearrange it for me, and be open in my body and with my senses for it to come back in, whatever forms that it comes back in. So in case you're wondering, hey Gaetano, how are you? So welcome those of you just joining in. I hope you can receive me okay on this connection. It has, I think, just been a little bit kind of low quality connection. I hope you can excuse the quality if you're not receiving it very well. I hope it is buffering and coming back to you okay. And the topic is making sense, I hope. I'm here in the middle of Nottingham in the Midlands of UK. I'm teaching, I just taught a 3-day program. Last week I was in Scandinavia, had the pleasure of teaching some amazing, beautiful Scandinavian people. And, here I'm back in the UK, and, the journey continues. So those of you just joining in, welcome. Tell me, just give me a little thumbs up and a hello, and let me know where you're tuning in from, and what are your topics of interest. If you've been following my work or anything like that, if you'd like to ask any questions, and I'm just talking about the topic of embodying your transformation. I was just sharing with those of you that have just been logging on before my experience over the last few days. So, as I've been really busily running around, so it feels like running around, but actually I choose to be relaxed as I move around from one thing to the next. Oh yes, I would love that, Gaetano. I would love to come to Italy. I would love that. So let me know. I mean, let me know if you guys are, where are you tuning in from? Are you tuning in from Italy? Which part of Italy? What are you up to? What do you do? What are your topics of interest or speciality? Share a little bit. Let's check in. We need yoga lessons on the show, Gaetano. I've just been teaching yoga straight up, day in, day out for the last 3 days, and I'm a little bit yogaed out. It's kind of, what time is it now? 7:30 in the evening, and I will get some yoga to you guys. Tell me what your experience talking about yoga and embodying your transformation. Those of you logged in here on the call, on the session, how many of you have tried yoga? What's your experience of yoga? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What has it been like for you guys? And if you've been practicing regularly, what are some of the lessons you've learned? And even on this topic of embodying transformation, the yoga practice is, extremely powerful, because for me, I'll share just from my experience, being able to connect with the body and breathe has allowed me to fine-tune my sensitivity and feeling and tracking through sensations, not only what is going on for me internally, but also the messages that I'm receiving from higher power. Yes, Gaetano, awesome that you love yoga, and we all love yoga. Um, yes, we will get some yoga on the show at some point. Well, on that topic, I mean, what would you guys like me to cover in yoga? Is it like certain specific sequences? What is interesting to you, or what is difficult or challenging to you, or what have you heard about yoga? Does it scare you? Are you excited about yoga? I know Gaetano, you just mentioned here you love yoga. Um, what is it like for you guys? What's been your experience of yoga? Do you enjoy it? Do you practice it often? How often do you practice it? And I'm not the yoga police, so I'm not here to check up on you. It's just I'm just wanting to connect with you guys and know what is your experience of yoga? Have you done much of it? Has it worked? Um, do you find it enjoyable? What has it been like for you? So if you do practice yoga, or even if you don't practice yoga, what would you like me to cover, to talk about in terms of yoga? Let me know, and I can prepare for future sessions. But today's session really is um, the contextual version, or the philosophy behind the actual practice, and parts of the philosophy is really to be able to embody your transformation. Because even though we're all energetic beings, and I know there's a lot of you who are amazing healers here on this group, very, very highly respectable healers and kind of change makers here on this group, as Gaetano has very eloquently pulled together. Um, Even though we're all kind of, most of you guys, and I say we, but most of us are energy workers, I still till today have this belief in my head of like, did that really work? Did that healing really work? Did that thing really land? Just these last 3 days, I had a student who had something going on with her hamstring, and she had like surgery, and after birth of her, I think, third child, her bowel dropped, and she had this stuff going on with the hamstring, and she had this calcification at the top of the hamstring and the insertion of the bone. And talking about embodying transformation, I mean, she couldn't do kind of like forward folds. What poses are challenging for you guys, by the way? She couldn't do forward folds because there was this like twinging pain at the top of the sit bone, and she was really worried about doing forward bends. And as we were doing the yoga practice, and as we were focusing on hands-on assisting and adjustments, so putting our hands and adjusting people and using our hands to actually heal, she was kind of blown away, the last few days, and we did a bit more work on her today. And she completely shifted that which was blocking her at the hamstring, at the bone, at the insertion of the bone. And she was kind of blown away. She's like, wow, I've been seeing all sorts of people for all these years, and it's been phenomenal how it's actually shifted. And the embodiment of transformation, the embodying of transformation, I believe is, using the body as a means, as a conduit, as a means, as a vehicle for us to go through this journey of transformation. And for me, the journey of transformation is connecting to a potential that is dormant within us. So using the body as an antenna, using the body as a way for us to feel, and through feeling, allowing us access into, higher planes of existence, energetic planes of existence. As much as it's cool that we are energetic beings, we still have this physical existence. So how to actually take the shifts on an energetic level and then bring it back and land it into the body. So what I was sharing earlier in the call, for those of you just joining in or joined in, was, the last few days. The example I gave was that, I woke up, I think it was yesterday, kind of my mind was really busy. I think it's just because I've been so busy the last couple of weeks, haven't really had much time to do things. It's literally things been back to back. And literally I kind of turn up to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So my mind has been catching up with me, trying to say the first thing I wake up, like, hey, you have all these things to do and you better get them done. And I was talking about actually, then interrupting that pattern and sitting in my meditation and taking that time, even though my mind's kind of like, what are you doing sitting now? Come on, you need to get these things done first before you start the day, before you go, to teach the course. I chose to actually interrupt that and sit with, just doing my meditation. And that's just like it's a mandatory thing for me. Like, there's a must. Like I just cannot start my days anymore without my meditation, because I know it's just going to be derailed completely. And as I sat in meditation and connected to high power, all of the concerns, the worries in my mind started to lift. And then I was driving to my call here in Nottingham. And again, my mind starts to kick in, and it's like, oh, what about this? And what about that? And you better get all these things done. You better worry about this. And I noticed talk about embodying. I noticed that there was this, I was tracking, like while I was driving, I was tracking these sensations in my body. And how, interesting that even, for example, like fear, fear and excitement are like two sides of the same coin. So tracking fear, for example, worry then became fear, and fear kind of is debilitating because you can't really make good decisions. You can't take, good action from that. It's not kind of guided action. It's just like a really limited, fear-based, any kind of action that you're taking. So my practice was to actually, in the embodiment of it, is to notice, oh, okay, so I'm feeling fear in this way, like on a physical level. And then also, like, I've been practicing, like training my mind, training my brain to really feel into the difference between fear and excitement. So every time I feel fear now, I'm like, is that fear or is that excitement? Actually then choosing to rewire it in my head and say, what if it was actually excitement? What if I could be excited about this thing that I think I'm afraid of? And then so that's on like the physical level and the human kind of level. And then actually taking that, and it's part of my practice now, and these last few days there's been a lot of that I've been doing this practice on, just giving it, like surrendering it to a higher power. And when I'm able to do that, it's not that I'm always able to do that. When I choose to do that, then I kind of I draw in a higher consult, like a higher board of directors, a higher CEO, like the highest, as a matter of fact, to come in and take that problem and reorganize it and rearrange it and resolve it for me. So trusting, part of the practice for me is like trusting enough in my heart, in my body, and I'm talking about embodying transformation, and then surrendering that, at some point, because it's beyond me. Like, there are things that I just think, I don't know how I'm going to make that happen today, or how I'm going to fit that into my day today. It just seems so crazy. I guess another topic I could have called this talk will be like how to be in flow, right? So as I surrender that to a higher power, I find that it then takes it, and at a time when it's like, a surprising way and time and place, it actually brings it back to me, and I get the results. It's like a just a beautiful surprise, like a present that you would get. And allowing higher power to reorganize it and then bring me back the solution. And in the meantime, coming back to my body and then tracking. So if the fear has shifted, so okay, cool, the fear has shifted. Now, what am I left with? Maybe I'm left with openness. Maybe I'm left with calm. Maybe I'm left with some sense of joy or some sense of relief, right? Or not worry. And just as I've surrendered it. So then using the body to track, like an antenna, to be able to track what comes back from higher power, so that I can be guided to know when to take action and to take what kinds of action, or non-action. And that's been quite significant, actually, because then, part of me is like, yes, I'm still consulting my intelligence. I'm then surrendering it to something higher. It then involves the practice of trust, before surrender. And, then being open, using the body as an antenna to then receive whatever feedback, for me to then take guided action, right? So then I will know, like, okay, you need to actually make a phone call, and you need to call this person and tell them this, or you need to chase this thing up, or you need to just leave this because this is taken care of, right? And as I do that, using my body then as an antenna, and this is where the yoga practice is really powerful. As Gaetano says, like, we love yoga. The yoga practice is really powerful because it gives the sensitivity and the connectivity to the physical body, and the physical body then through sensations, the physical sensations, to track back, the energetic vibrations that come back through, or in other words, the feedback from a higher power, the feedback from the universe, to then be able to take guided action. So in other words, opening you up to, in a different way of saying it, I guess, could be to make you more psychic, like to make you more in tune or attune with higher vibrations, so that you're living a life that is guided by just, a power and energy that is greater than just this mind or this body. But not limiting ourselves to the body or the mind, but actually using the body and the mind as an antenna to receive the messages, to be guided, to then take the guided action. The results actually can have been pretty profound. I've been playing with it in the last few weeks, certainly in the last few days. Feels like an accelerated journey through this learning of what I'm calling embodying, transformation. So using, in short, in brief, what I'm talking about is, using the body as a tracking mechanism. So the practices like yoga, which I know, Gaetano, you're asking me to teach on the group. The practices like yoga, breath work, meditation, tracking, even meditation and tracking sensations in the body, because really that's what yoga is to me. Yoga is movement meditation, right? Is doing postures and breathing, and a means to go inwards and connect and fine tune how we actually, receiving feedback from the energies around us, especially, higher power. So then it allows you to be open to guidance. Like our guidance system is actually, is open to receiving, and you can receive and you be guided through your actions as well. So I hope it is making sense. It's kind of still kind of very new and raw and real. Like I'm still not perhaps very eloquent with the words, but I really wanted to just jump in because I feel like you guys are a group that would hopefully get it and understand because of all the amazing work that you guys do. So hopefully it makes sense and hopefully it's useful. I'm just sharing with you guys my experience, over the last few weeks, but certainly the last few days, it feels like an intensified journey as I've been, exploring more ways for me to live. I guess I could say like a guided life, like a guided life that is guided by a higher power. So, or a different way of saying it is like, a energetic, a higher vibration life that, is driving this physical existence, this physical form. It's been really kind of interesting observations as I've, talked about embodying your transformation, using the body like an antenna to track, vibrations are coming out back, what feedback is coming back from source, universe, to then track, the actions that are required to be taken, or the non-actions, as in to surrender, to leave it, to let go, and to trust. It has been quite profound. I've been playing with it the last few weeks. And somehow it has allowed me, I don't know how, to fit in more than I thought, possible in my day. And I'm going to keep exploring it. I think it's the ticket to actually expanding my capacity of, being and holding space for that which I want to create and manifest in my life, from my teams to my business and businesses to, people, like just friendships around me, just pretty much anything, and I find that obviously there's many ways to get in. And one of my specialties, of course, is the body, because I work with yoga as one of my tools in my toolkit. So, I'm just sharing with you insights from my meditations over the last few days, but also the last few weeks. This has been kind of playing out, and I hope you can excuse perhaps the lack of eloquence or clarity that is coming through in this session, but also I hope there is enough sense in here and enough clarity in here that you can perhaps experiment with it yourself. I wanted these sessions to be something that is kind of experiential, and from my experience, that is authentic and real to me, and is quite real and present for me, like now, rather than something that was in the past and kind of very well thought out. So I hope there's enough clarity in there and kind of enough thought behind it so that it can make sense to you and you can apply it in your life. I've noticed that, I'm coming close to my time here on this session. I've probably got another, I don't know, 7 minutes or so. So I'll turn it over now to you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me questions on any of the fields that I have skill sets or experience or expertise in. Yoga, meditation, transformation, so like intervention work, kind of deep inner work. I wouldn't say psychology, but that kind of a process, or energy work, mainly to do with theta healing and that kind of a modality. So last few minutes here, just before I log off, it's been very quiet. You've all been sitting back, observing. I hope you've been receiving my stream okay on your sides. Thank you, Gaetano, for inviting me to the group, and also tagging all these amazing people that I'm guessing would be interested in the call or in the session. If you are watching back the session later and are commenting there, and if it's something you want me to jump back in and check, do just tag my name. So it's @Ayaloo, and that'll pop up on my feed as well, so I can jump in and comment. But I do jump back normally, for the next couple of days and check things. So if you have questions for me, if you have any comments, questions, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I'm going to probably give it another minute or so, just to kind of for you guys to sit and think of any questions if you have any questions. Was it useful? Did it make sense? Give me a thumbs up, just so I have some kind of a feedback, not just like nothing's happening on that other side. It would be good to get some feedback too. So let me know. Just give me a little thumbs up if you're too busy, or if you kind of can't really type where you are. If there is a little thumbs up, that would be useful too. Hopefully there is one. And also, more broader than that, how are you finding these sessions that I'm doing? Are they useful? Are they applicable? Are they just a little bit too out there? Would you like me to take it a more kind of tangible route, like actually make it more physical body, tangible, yoga? I know, Gaetano, you're asking about yoga. What you tell me, what would help you guys? What are some of the things that are challenging for you? And post it here, and I would take that into consideration for the next session that I'll be doing. And I think Gaetano will post on the page and let you know. So seems like there's no more questions or comments. Lucila, you're saying bo or boo. I hope that means everything is okay on your side. If it's not, then do let me know if there's anything I can help with. Too upset that it's finishing. I'm guessing that's that. But thank you anyway for tuning in. I hope you can watch the recorded session. So I'm just tuning out here from the Midlands in the UK. I'm in Nottingham, actually just outside of Nottingham, just out in the countryside in this beautiful Airbnb. Wasn't sure if I was going to have internet connection, but as the universe would have it, this was another thing that I just surrendered, and it came back, and the people taking care of it came back, organized it for me, and here we are online doing this session. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining in online, Gaetano for jumping in as well, and whoever, you invited people onto the session. Thank you. Let me know how you find these sessions, if they're useful, if you'd like me to focus on certain topics. I'm very happy to change things around. Just want to bring things that are useful and of value to you guys. Lucilla, you're asking, are you a medium? In a way, I guess you could say that I am a theta healer. And some of my friends, my theta healer friends, would probably say I'm the least theta healer, because I still have these beliefs around, being psychic. But we all receive information in different ways. For me, I guess I just receive it in the body and feeling, which is actually why I'm talking about embodying your transformation. So indirectly, I guess you could say that in some ways, maybe, different to a medium. It's not just about reading or giving you a reading. It's actually, giving healings as well, directly connected to source and that vibration. So let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you very much for joining in. It seems like somehow we've made it to the end of the show. Thank you for all the love, hearts, the likes, and all the, okays and big ups as well. Lots of love to all of you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching later. If you're doing that, if you're watching later, do tag me on the post, on the comment, and so that I can see your post, and I'll come back and comment. Bye for now. Lots of love, and I look forward to chatting with you in our next session. I think in a few weeks from now. Guy Turner will post on the page. Bye for now. See you.